Peterson quoting from a foreign leader about the dangers of wokeness. Do we have this one?
Finally, do you know that Vladimir Putin himself is capitalizing on this woke madness? Anna Majar Barducci at memri.org covered his recent speech. I quote from the article's translation. Putin speaking. The advocates of so-called social progress believe they are introducing humanity to some kind of a new and better consciousness. Godspeed, hoist the flags, as we say, go right ahead. The only thing that I want to say now is that their prescriptions are not new at all. It may come as a surprise to some people, but Russia has been there already. After the 1917 revolution, the Bolsheviks, relying on the dogmas of Marx and Engels, also said that they would change existing ways and customs, and not just political and economic ones, but the very notion of human morality and the foundations of a healthy society. The destruction of age-old values, religion, and relations between people, up to and including the total rejection of family, we had that too, encouragement to inform on loved ones, all this was proclaimed progress, and by the way, was widely supported around the world back then and was quite fashionable. Same as today. By the way, the Bolsheviks were absolutely intolerant of opinions other than theirs. Putin continues, this, I believe, should call to mind some of what we are witnessing now. Looking at what is happening in a number of Western countries, we are amazed to see domestic practices, which we, fortunately, have left, I hope, in the distant past. The fight for equality and against discrimination has turned into aggressive dogmatism bordering on absurdity when the works of the great authors of the past, such as Shakespeare, are no longer taught at schools or universities because their ideas are believed to be backward. The classics are declared backward and ignorant of the importance of gender and race. In Hollywood, memos are distributed about proper storytelling and how many characters of what color or gender should be in a movie. This is even worse than the agitprop department of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. End of Putin's comments. This from the head of the former totalitarian enterprise, against whom we fought a 5 decades-long Cold War, risking the entire planet in a very real manner. This from the head of a country riven in a literally genocidal manner by ideas that Putin himself attributes to the progressives in the West, to the generally accepting audience of his once burned, twice shy listeners.
I have to say, I don't know what I'm kind of more offended by. One is that he seems to have at least some sympathy for what Vladimir Putin is saying, or that he thinks that this was a comment made in good faith by the authoritarian leader of an authoritarian state. Or secondly, that he thinks that all the things that he was describing was in any way comparable to the Soviet Gulag, which I also think is pretty offensive.
Yeah, I should say, by the way, we did find the Brezhnev clip, so just so you know, I'm not making that up.
I mean, I kind of approach it from the other angle than Matt. I mean, I certainly see the difference between the Soviet Union, and sort of liberal woke ideology. However, I think it's grossly unflattering toward the history of the Soviet Union, which raised 200 million people out of poverty and defeated the Nazis, among other things, to suggest that this sort of gloss that's placed on neoliberalism, right? In terms of identitarian politics and so forth, are somehow tantamount to that,
Okay, so on the one hand, the people that Peterson's criticizing never accomplished anything on the level of industrializing Russia and building World War II. So in that sense, he's given them too much credit. On the other hand, human resources departments, Hollywood executives, etc., who he's criticizing here, have probably never done anything quite as bad as the Ukrainian famine or the Gulag Archipelago. So he might be erring in both directions. But Jake, it's probably too much build up, and it's not as funny to everybody else's is to me. But let's do the Brezhnev clip after all.
I believe it was Brezhnev gave the Crimea to the Ukraine when he was drunk.
So there you go.
That was Khrushchev. It wasn't even Brezhnev's rule. I mean, I don't know like all the particular details of this, but I know enough to know that that's wrong. Like it was 1954, right?
Yeah, Khrushchev was the Soviet premier when the Crimea was transferred from Russia to Ukraine within the USSR. And I actually also think, to be fair to Khrushchev, it probably wasn't just an impulse when he was drunk. You know, there probably was some like thought out policy stuff going on.
Probably had a few buffers there in the Soviet Union. Yeah, you think?
Yeah. There were probably people. I think even, you know, especially to Khrushchev, right? I mean, if it was Stalin, like he could have just had that drunken impulse and everybody would have just done it. But like with Khrushchev, there'd probably be people who are asking him the next morning, "Are you sure about this Crimea thing?" Because, like, you know, we don't actually have to do that. You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the Patreon-exclusive post-games on Monday nights, all of the Patreon-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.